Record it. Today I'm gonna talk about different types of being good at JavaScript and what they mean. Okay? Because just because someone says they're good at JavaScript, that could mean like 1,000 different things. So maybe not 1,000, but it could mean a few different things to mean you're good at JavaScript. So we're gonna talk about that today. Okay. And we're gonna talk about which ones are gonna help you get a job, which I think is really important. One of them will be, holy shit, I am zoomed out. Okay, there we go. Algorithms and data structures. Okay. So let's talk about some buzzwords with this. I heard you mention trees. I heard you mention sometimes tree is spelled this way. Sometimes people spell it tree, but I'm going to spell it the weird way just because you wouldn't expect it to be spelled that way. You get stuff like trees, linked lists, graphs. You get stuff like depth first search, breadth first search. You get stuff like pathfinding algorithms. You get stuff like route finding, all sorts. There's all sorts of shit you can get here, right? Binary search. I'm just throwing some random ones out there. I can tell you right now, to put a dollar value on it, I'm fairly certain if I were to go and look aggressively for a job, I could probably find one in like a technical job. I could probably find something in the 120 to 150 range within a few months pretty easily, right? So just to put a monetary value on that, I can tell you right now that off the cuff, I would mess up this. I could probably do this one pretty consistently. I would mess up this without doing some studying first, although I have a hunch I could bullshit something if I really wanted to. I would mess up this, but I have done it before and could probably do it again. I would mess up this, but I've done it before and could probably do it again. I've never even done this or attempted it, and I'm pretty sure it would be a pain in the ass and would take me all day to do, but I could do it probably eventually. When it comes to this one, I actually probably would enjoy doing that one again. And this one, I don't even remember how it works, but I'm pretty sure I could Google it and figure out how to code it pretty quickly. Okay. The reason why I'm going over these is because a lot of times what happens is people don't know what getting a job is actually like. And the industry has a history of prioritizing this shit, of saying, if you want to work as a developer, you better be able to do a binary search. You better be able to do pathfinding algorithms. You better be able to do route finding, right? The industry is traditionally putting a high focus on this stuff. However, that's not necessarily the industry today. And in fact, a lot of times companies are choosing to hire less and less and less on this stuff and more and more and more on what I'm going to talk about here. We're going to make another category of being good at JavaScript. Hang on. Hang on. Can I build the shit I need to for the work I do? Which for us is primarily going to be web development. Okay. So, by the way, if you want to talk about algorithms and data structures, I do think that there's important stuff here. For example, we don't think about it that much, but like, for example, arrays and objects are absolutely algorithms and data structures. It's just that in JavaScript, they're pretty much the only ones we need to know in order to get a lot of shit done. But anyways, that's a side note. Okay. But anyways, can I build the shit I need to for the work that I do? Web development. So this would be stuff like, can I write clean React code? Can I style an HTML page and make it pretty? Can I, do I know useful design patterns? Maybe, for example, provider pattern. Maybe, for example, routing patterns in React. Maybe, for example, type system stuff, right? And then a big one here that I think is very important is, can I use JavaScript algorithms quickly and efficiently on the simple stuff? For example, can I turn an array of objects into an array of H1 elements or something like that? Can I fetch data and put it on my front end without the code being hard to follow? A lot of these questions, this is the stuff that you're doing every day. When I'm building a project, I'm not doing any of this shit most of the time.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, those things will come up. But 90% of the time, 90% of the people, they're doing the boring. Not, I don't want, boring is not necessarily the right word, because there's something interesting about doing this in a clean way. And I want you to imagine that you have a project that has like 40,000 lines of code on it, which, by the way, is not a big project, as big as that may sound. I want you to pretend like, oh, maybe I have 40,000 lines of code on this project. Well, if your code looks like dog shit, it's going to be really hard to change that project or make shit look better. So this stuff, I promise you, it is technical in its own way. It's just a very different type of technical than this stuff. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Now, I don't want to discredit all this. I'm not saying that this is stupid. I'm not saying it's stupid. I'm not saying it's not valuable, because a lot of the stuff that we use every day was built with this stuff in mind. For example, anytime I'm searching through files or something like that, someone probably had to build a tree data structure. Why do you think it's called a file tree, right? That is something that exists, but it tends to be that a lot of times these decisions to use these very heavy algorithm and data structures, they're a lot of times done by the senior dev on a project, and they're done in the complicated parts of the project that make that project unique. So for example, a file explorer probably has like a tree somewhere that the whole thing functions around. That does not necessarily mean that every little piece that everybody's writing, they need to know, they need to be really good at all of these things in order to make it work. I do think it is worth learning algorithms and data structures, but it's probably not the first thing you need to be working on as learning JavaScript. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does actually.
Awesome. So cool. So we have these two types of being good at JavaScript, algorithms and data structures, and then can I build shit for that I need to do for web development? Okay. I'm going to add a third one in here because it's a little bit different, but I think that unlike this, it's a little bit more in line with what we need to be working on. So the third one I'm going to add here is, can I solve easy algorithms quickly? This is what I think you should be working on right now. So in other words, here, the only way to really get good at this stuff is to build projects, okay? And building projects is absolutely a huge part of what you do here, and it's super important. But at the same time, I do think sometimes getting some practice writing your for loops, your while loops, functions, all that stuff, if statements, ternaries, all those little things, very, very important to do. And these problems don't have to be hard problems in order to get a lot of value out of doing a lot of these problems. Let me give you an example of an easy algorithm. How long would it take you to sum the elements of an array? If I were to tell you right now, Oscar, to make a function that sums the elements of an array, how long do you think it would take you to write?
I don't know.
Not long? Give me
No, no, not much. 5 minutes,
a
maybe?
number of minutes.
5 minutes?
5 minutes? Okay. I think a better goal right now for you than trying to do this would be able to solve this problem in 2 minutes. I can tell you right now, like, I can solve this problem in probably 30 seconds. So for example, like sum, and here I'm going to add in an array, and here I'll just do it with a for loop. There's 1,000 ways to do this. But I'm going to say, let my sum equal 0, or let I equals 0, I is less than array dot length, I plus plus. We're gonna do I probably could have done this with a for of loop. My sum plus equals array indexed at I, and then down here, I'm gonna go ahead and return my sum. And hopefully, if I did all this right, I don't know if that was under 30 seconds. We're gonna pretend like it was because it makes me feel cooler about this myself. We're gonna sum 1, 2, 3, and I got 6, so it looks like it worked. Okay, I'm not doing this to show off, but the thing is that the reason why I was able to do that quickly and confidently is because I've written 1,000 of these, and because of the fact that I know all the syntax stuff off the back of my hand. Like, in other words, I have so much practice writing this type of stuff that I'm not going to make the stupid mistakes like forgetting to use a semicolon instead of a comma here. I'm not going to make the mistake of forgetting this let here when I declare this statement here. I'm not going to forget the order of this thing goes here, this thing goes here, this thing goes here. It's all like second nature to me. I don't have to, it's not even a thought that crosses my brain. It just happens. The idea is you want to develop fluency in JavaScript, kind of like you would develop fluency in speaking a language or something like that. You could have a dictionary in front of you of English words, but that's not necessarily going to make you good at speaking English. The thing that makes you good at speaking English is by having a lot of conversations. And the in the same way, the goal here with learning JavaScript is to be able to speak JavaScript fluently, kind of like you would with just learning like any language or something like that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does a lot, actually.
Awesome. So I don't know where you're at in your learning journey. I know that you went to a previous boot camp. I know that you've done some tutorials, but that's not really enough for me to gauge how sharp you are with JavaScript. And I'm not trying to
Mhm.
make any judgments. I have no idea. So I'll lay you out what I would recommend for pretty much anybody to try out. First thing that I will recommend is CodeWars. I think it's a little easier to get started with than the other tool I'm going to show you. But CodeWars is great because it allows you to choose a skill level and just focus on that skill level. So, like, for example, if I want to learn JavaScript, I could select 7 KYU. I personally think, in general, most of our students, before they get to Battleship, for example, should be in the 6 KYU range. 8 KYU is the easiest, 1 KYU is the hardest, but most of our students probably should be in the 6 KYU range by the time they're working on our Battleship assignment, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
But for me, I'm going to go ahead and do one of these. Let's see. Is this a letter? Okay. Write a function. Is it a letter? Which tells us if a given character is a letter or not. Okay. So I can do this. I happen to know I've been working on my regex, so that's probably the easiest way to do this. So I'm going to return the opposite of character dot match. And here I'm going to say, let's see if I mess this up. We're going to say A to Z or A to Z, or actually I could just do this, A to Z. Will that work? I think so. Oh, wait, and then it would be a double bank. So let's see if it works. But boom. Oh no, it's mad at me. Oh, this looks right to me. Am I crazy? Anyways, let me see what if I do this? If I wrap it like this. Thought I was doing this right, but I guess not. Boom. Invalid regular expression. Doesn't like it. Let me try it in my browser real quick. I made a mistake. Been a while since I've done regex. So I'm going to do a dot match. And if here I go, I thought I could do that.
Hmm.
A to Z. No, it doesn't. Definitely not like that. Oh, is it backslash? Is that what it was? It's not backslash, is it? Weird. Regex, match, JavaScript. See, look at this. I have something to learn too. I think maybe I could do new reg expression here. New reg expression. We're just try this out. Maybe it just doesn't like my syntax. And here I'm going to say A to Z. Will that work? Nope, doesn't like that. Maybe it likes the Do. That there? What? How am I messing this up so bad? Does it have to be like all
Oh,
caps? Oh,
because
that's why. It's got to
yeah,
be, yeah, it's got to be this.
you can do capital A to capital Z or and then lowercase a to
Yeah,
lower.
that's what it wants, is that. Okay, so there we go. So now my guess would be I could probably do this here too. A to Z, or,
You don't need that, or you can just do A to Z right next to the capital AZ, like in the same square brackets.
oh, oh, well, we'll try that out. A to Z, try it out. Let's see. Will it work? I don't know. We'll find out. But the point is, hey, look, I'm getting better at this right now too. The point is, if you do a ton of these all the time, your brain is going to change. You're going to become sharper and quicker and faster. A is a letter expected false to equal true. You sure I don't need that? I think I need, we're gonna try this out. A to Z or A to Z. I think there's different flavors of regex. Nope, it doesn't like it. Well, you could do this, but it's not a great answer, but whatever. I just want to solve the problem just to show you. I'll just do this for now. And I'll go A to Z. Attempt. That should do it. Oh, what the heck? Expected false to be true. A is a letter. Expected false to be true. B is a letter. Expected false to equal true. What the heck? Am I tripping here? What's going on? A dot to lowercase dot match. And I said, oh, you know what? I think that I wanted this. That's why. Because I never made the regex expression. There it goes. Haha. And there we go. Rookie mistake. All right. And now I might actually be able to get rid of this and do the other syntax, which this is one of the other cool parts, is now I could refactor, test things out, experiment, playground. So now we'll try Chance's suggestion, A to Z, A to Z. Check that out. Still passing. That's good. And I could try doing this, although I'm pretty sure this will fail, but it's valuable knowing that it will fail. So now that I know it will fail, I've learned something. I deepen my knowledge. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to test this one more time. And once it works, I'm going to hit submit. And what's cool about this is we can now look at other people's code. And now, for example, I could reflect on the decisions I made. It looks like I used a match keyword, and then I used the double bang operator. Do you have any idea what this does in code, Oscar?
Actually, no. It's the only one I'm.
All right. So what it is it inverts the logic flow. So for example, let's say I have false. All the values false. If I go, what's not false? What do you think it's going to be? If I put the exclamation mark, it's going to say the opposite of false. What's the opposite of
True.
false? True.
True. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. So what's the opposite of true?
False?
False. Okay. So what's the opposite of undefined?
No.
True.
True.
So this is a concept in JavaScript called truthiness versus falsiness. We're not going to stress too much about that now, but the idea is something that's falsy is approximately false, but not exactly false. Something that's truthy is approximately true, but not exactly true. Let me give you an example of another falsy thing. Null. The opposite of null is true. The opposite of hello is false because hello is truthy. The opposite of an empty string is true. This is going to be confusing. We could do a totally separate lesson on truthiness versus falsiness, but the idea is if this thing takes something truthy and makes it false, and something falsy and makes it true. So for example, I'm going to take something falsy, it makes it true. Well, if I put another one here, it takes something falsy and makes it false, or it takes something truthy and makes it true. So what that match thing that I had did was, let's say I do a dot match, and I'm just going to match a. Okay. What it does is it pulls out the array of the match group using regex that matches that thing. If you don't know what regex is, don't stress too much about it. Not all these problems are going to have that in it. And you do not have to use regex for all these problems. In fact, I could very easily solve this problem without regex. I guarantee it, right? But the idea here is that since this thing is an array, the opposite of any array is false, which means that the opposite of any array is true. So all that little line of code did was it allowed me to say, hey, as long as it matches, I return something. But here's the thing. What I could have done instead, it looks like, this is my takeaway from failing this time, is that if I were to go A, and instead of calling dot match A, I could have called dot test. Check that regex expression. And now, whoops, A dot test? What? Hang on. Did I miss something? Where is it? Oh, okay. So it's the regex expression. So I'd start here, this, and then I would go call dot test, and I would do the expression here. Well, the cool thing about this is this automatically returns true or false. So now, rather than having to convert it to true or false and return an object, I could just return true or false here. And it's a little cleaner, right? So I learned something. Those little things that you learn, solving these problems. This is something that if I wasn't narrating it, probably would have taken me in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
Solving 30 problems like this is how you get fluent at speaking JavaScript. Make sense?
Yeah, it does, actually.
So my task to you is, before the end of class, go solve a couple of these. What do you think? Go do 8 KYUs. Start easy. And see if you can solve a few of them.
Okay.
Sound good? A good rule of thumb I have for you is if you're spending more than like 30 minutes on a problem, you need to choose easier problems. Does that make sense? And do more of them. That's for this type of training. I will say there is some value. I don't want to completely take away from the fact that there is some value in the harder JavaScript style stuff, but also you're going to have a way easier time doing those hard things if you're fluent at JavaScript first. In the same way that you would have a much easier time writing a 5-page essay about nuclear physics if you could speak English first. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So go learn how to speak JavaScript. I want you to do a few problems before class is over, if you can. If you only do one, that's fine too. All right, cool beans. I'm going to stop that recording.